Have you ever noticed that you spend your entire life asking for permission? Permission to exist the way you are, permission to desire what you desire, permission to become who you could truly be. What if I told you that this is the root of all your suffering? That you are imprisoned not by the chains of the world, but by the invisible chains you forged yourself by accepting to live according to other people's script? There is something deeply disturbing about the way we have been domesticated. Since childhood, we learned to look outward for validation. We learned that our desires are dangerous, that our impulses need to be controlled, that there is a right way to live, and it doesn't come from within, but from some invisible manual written by people you never met. Nietzsche called this herd morality, and he wasn't being poetic. He was diagnosing a spiritual disease that transformed potentially magnificent human beings into docile creatures, always looking over their shoulder, always waiting for approval. Think about how many decisions you've made not because you truly wanted to, but because it was expected. How many times have you silenced your inner voice because it didn't fit what others considered acceptable? Your career choice, perhaps. The relationships you maintain, the way you dress, speak, behave in public. All of this was, on some level, a negotiation between who you are and who the world demands you to be. And in this negotiation, you always lose. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spent his life studying this power dynamic, but he wasn't interested in power as brute force or domination over others. No, he was obsessed with something much deeper and more radical. The will to power as the fundamental life force that pulses in every living being. It's the impulse to grow, to expand, to become more than you are now. It's the energy that makes a seed break through the earth, that makes a child defy gravity to take their first steps. It's that thing in you that refuses to accept mediocrity as a final destination. But here's the problem. This will to power has been completely distorted by society. Instead of being cultivated as the most sacred of forces, it was repressed, shamed, transformed into something dirty. We were taught that wanting power is selfish, that seeking greatness is vanity, that transcending your limitations is arrogance, and so entire generations were trained to live small, to settle for crumbs, to be grateful for gilded cages. You feel this, don't you? That constant sensation that there is something greater inside you, something that was never fully released, like a muscle that was never used, atrophied from lack of movement. Like a fire that never received enough oxygen to become a full flame. Nietzsche would say, you're living a reactive life instead of an active one. You're responding to the world instead of creating it. You're asking for permission instead of claiming your space. And here's the cruel truth. Nobody is going to give you that permission. Never, because the system wasn't designed to create powerful individuals. It was designed to create conformity. Well-meaning parents, dedicated teachers, competent bosses, all operating within a framework that rewards obedience and punishes originality. It's not a conspiracy. It's much worse than that. It's a faceless machine that perpetuates itself because everyone accepted its basic premises without questioning. Have you ever stopped to think why you're so afraid of disappointing others? Why does the opinion of people you barely know carry so much weight over your decisions? It's because we were programmed to value external approval above internal integrity. We were taught that belonging to the group is more important than being true to yourself. And this is the most subtle trap of all. You believe you're choosing freely, but you're just executing code that was installed in you long ago. The will to power, in Nietzsche's view, is not about subjugating others. It's about subjugating yourself. It's about conquering your own weaknesses, your own fears, your own excuses. It's about becoming the master of your existence instead of a slave to circumstances, expectations, or comfort. And this scares people because it requires courage. It requires that you face the abyss of your own freedom and recognize that there is no safety net, that you are radically responsible for your life. But wait, There's an even deeper layer here, because the true will to power isn't simply rejecting all rules and living chaotically. It's not eternal adolescence or rebellion without cause. It's something much more sophisticated. It's the capacity to create your own values, to become a legislator of yourself. Nietzsche called this becoming who you are, not who you think you should be, not who others want you to be, but who you truly are, in your deepest and most non-negotiable essence. Think about this for a moment. How many of your beliefs about what is right or wrong are genuinely yours? How many did you passively absorb from the cultural environment you grew up in? Most people live their entire lives operating with an operating system they don't even know was installed. They follow rules they never examined, they pursue goals they never questioned, and then they reach the end of life and realize they lived someone else's life. The tragedy isn't failure. The tragedy is succeeding at the wrong game. It's climbing the ladder only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. It's fulfilling all social expectations and still feeling a deep and inexplicable emptiness. Because you can have everything society says you should want and still be profoundly unhappy. Why? Because you never asked, what do I really want? What makes my soul vibrate? What would I create if I knew I couldn't fail? Nietzsche had a fascinating concept, eternal return. He asked, what if you had to live your life exactly as you're living it now, in the smallest details infinitely? All the moments, all the choices, all the pain and all the joy, repeating eternally. Would you have the courage to say yes to this life, or would you be terrified by the prospect? This is the measure of authenticity. If you can't embrace your life with unconditional love, then you're not really living, you're just surviving. And here's the secret that few can see. Stopping asking for permission is not an act of arrogance. It's an act of radical humility. It's recognizing that you don't have the right to waste the unique gift that is your existence. That you don't have the right to betray your own possibilities to make other people feel comfortable. That your primary responsibility is not to external expectations, but to the inner truth that only you can manifest. This doesn't mean you should be cruel or insensitive. It means you must be honest, radically honest, first with yourself and then with the world. It means saying no when your entire being screams no, even if it disappoints people. It means saying yes when something inside you recognizes a deep truth, even if it seems irrational or risky. It means trusting your own lived experience more than any abstract theory about how life should be. The will to power is the force that propels you to evolve, but evolution hurts. It requires that you die repeatedly to old versions of yourself. It requires that you abandon comfortable identities that no longer serve. It requires that you walk through discomfort, uncertainty, the judgment of others. That's why most people prefer the known prison to unknown freedom. At least in prison, you know what to expect. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't be here, seeking something beyond the obvious. Something in you recognizes that there is a different way to live, a way that doesn't involve bowing, diminishing yourself, or apologizing for taking up space. A way that honors the complete complexity of what it means to be human, with all the contradictions, desires, and unrealized potentials. Nietzsche spoke about the Übermensch, the Superman, but this translation is misleading. It's not about being superior to others, it's about transcending yourself. It's about becoming someone who creates meaning instead of just consuming prefabricated meaning. Someone who dances instead of dragging themselves. Someone who says yes to life in all its difficulty because they understand that difficulty is where growth happens. The question they never let you ask is this: what if you don't need permission? What if the only approval that matters is your own? What if the fear you feel isn't a sign to retreat, but a sign that you're finally approaching what truly matters? Fear is not your enemy. Complacency is. Comfort is. Resignation is. So here's the invitation. Not to become someone you're not, but to stop pretending to be someone you're not. To drop the masks you wear to feel safe, to recognize that true security doesn't come from external approval, but from internal alignment, from knowing that no matter what happens, you're living according to your deepest truth. This is power, not the power to control others, but the power not to be controlled, the power to create instead of just reacting, the power to transform suffering into meaning, chaos into art, limitations into possibilities. This is the legacy Nietzsche left you, not a dogma to be followed, but a challenge to be accepted. Do you have the courage to become who you truly are? The answer isn't in the words you speak, but in the actions you take, in the small daily choices that either bring you closer or further from your essence. And nobody can do this for you, nor should they, because this is your masterpiece. Your life, your only true creative act. If you felt something shifting as these ideas found you, then you've already begun. Transformation is not a future event. It's a present decision, a decision to stop waiting for permission and start claiming authority over your own existence, to stop living by default and start living by design, to stop surviving and start creating. Leave a comment sharing which permission you're going to stop asking for today. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to explore ideas that challenge, provoke, and transform. And share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, because the most important revolution doesn't happen in the streets. It happens inside you, in the moment you decide that enough is enough, that you don't need more permissions. You just need the courage to begin.